Well, it's been a week when we've seen yet more embarrassment for the government after mistakenly supporting a bill put forward by Labor. For more, I'm joined now by Environment Minister Josh Frydenberg and Shadow Transport and Infrastructure Minister Anthony Albanese. Good morning to both of you, but Josh, I'm going to go to you first. This was very embarrassing. What went wrong?
Oh, look, this is a storm in a teacup, Lisa, and a bit of Labor playing politics over policy. I mean, we made a very modest mistake voting in support of something we shouldn't have. And, you know, it's a bit like you doing an interview and opening up with Carl's lines, not your lines. It's something we just laugh at, and it's not really serious.
But you had a bit of a muck-up with those absentee MPs a couple of weeks ago, and with the wafer-thin majority that you've got, you just can't afford to make these kinds of mistakes right now, can you?
Well, look, we're just getting on with the business of delivering for Australians, and we actually had a great week. We had the Singaporean Prime Minister in town, delivered a strategic partnership, billions of dollars more in defence, free trade agreements. We're protecting the volunteer firefighters around Australia. We've passed savings bills through the Parliament. So we are getting on with the job, and Labor will always put the politics ahead of the policy, and this really was a waste of the Parliament's time, Lisa.
Anthony, nice to have the government actually supporting Labor for a change.
Well, this is a government that is simply chaotic. 3 weeks ago, we saw them lose a vote for the first time as a majority government in more than 50 years. And what we saw this week was them actually vote for a Labor amendment. For the first time, a second reading amendment has been carried in the Parliament since Federation. They're creating new precedent, this mob. They got 76 in the House of Representatives. They said that they had a working majority. What's clear is that they don't have a working majority. They are so internally divided that they've forgotten about everyone on our side of the House because they're too worried looking behind them at the Abbott forces who are marshalling against the Turnbull government that is diminishing before our very eyes.
But Anthony, isn't the irony here is that while this was a mistake, Labor is deliberately trying to bring Parliament to a standstill right now?
We're not at all.
And Australians are going to get fed up with both of you.
Well, we're not at all. We're busy putting forward a positive agenda. What's extraordinary is that the government don't have an agenda. They come up with, in my area, this new departure tax out of nowhere. They said they then wanted to rush it through but didn't even bother to bring it on for debate. You have the issue of the marriage equality, where a majority of the Parliament support marriage equality, but we can't get it because of a deal between Malcolm Turnbull and Tony Abbott. Tony Abbott's supporters, or former supporters, who ratted on him as a condition of Malcolm Turnbull taking the position in the Lodge. I think what Australians are saying to themselves is, what is the point of Malcolm Turnbull? He took over from Tony Abbott. We see Malcolm Turnbull, but we hear Tony Abbott. We have the same policies, and we don't have an agenda. We have these slogans, jobs and growth, but nothing beneath it. And I think Australians are seeing that. A second-rate NBN, an education policy, a tax on Medicare.
Keep running those lines, Albo. Keep running them, mate.
It's just, it's hopeless.
All right.
They are hopeless.
Let's move on to another subject that hasn't actually moved on, and that's same-sex marriage. And while it may have been rejected, the issue is going absolutely nowhere. Josh, why is the Prime Minister so against a free vote on this? This is a man who, before he became the Prime Minister of this country, was very pro same-sex marriage.
Well, he absolutely supports same-sex marriage, so do I and a lot of my colleagues, but we went to the election with a policy. And that policy was to have a plebiscite and to allow people to have their say. And, you know, Lisa, Bill Shorten supported a
But it's a non-binding plebiscite. Even if the Australian public support this, you haven't guaranteed that it will hold, that it will actually go anywhere. So what is the point of spending $200 million on a plebiscite that goes nowhere?
Lisa, I think it's very clear that this plebiscite, if it's successful and the majority of the Australian people vote in favour, then it will become law. And that's where the polls indicate. And so the question for the Labor Party is, do they want same-sex marriage to become legal in Australia? And if they do, the surest way, the fastest way for that to happen is through the plebiscite. Look, they're still going on a victory lap after the last election, even though they lost. And it's a bit rich for Albo to talk about leadership issues. I mean, he's got the baton in his saddlebag. He's the people's choice. He's the one that Bill Shorten's looking over his shoulder at. And, you know, the Labor Party should stop politicking. And if they're serious about same-sex marriage, just get on and support the plebiscite. And before we know it, same-sex marriage will be legal in Australia.
All right. Okay. Unfortunately, Albo, I am going to have to leave it there. But
Well,
you did get a good run this morning.
You're
Gentlemen,
right.
thanks
The
so
point
much
of the
for joining us.
plebiscite
I'm
is
gonna
that we'll still
go
have to have a
break.
parliamentary vote. Why not just get to it?
Okay.
All right. You did get the last word, so that's probably a good thing.
Enjoy the Gold
Fair
Coast.
to everyone. Thanks
Your,
a lot.
guys.
your colleagues
Thank
who've been
you.
left
Have a great
behind are
weekend,
very
guys.
cranky with you.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I'll pass it on to the boss.
See you, Lisa.
Over to you, Richard.
Bye, Albo.
Now, you know what? You know who's coming down to join us?
It's a shame Albo couldn't be here on the beach with us.
Well, we'd love Albo here
Yeah.
and his boardies and all
Yeah,
that sort of
yeah.
thing. But look, if you can't have Albo, who are you going to get? Sam Neill, I've always said that.
Get out of town.
Sam Neill, one of the great actors in the world, is coming down to join us very
I
shortly.
hope
here
he's
on the
bringing
show.
some of his 2 Paddocks Pinot Noir as well.
It's beautiful, isn't
It's,
it?
yeah, really nice.
made in Otago.
And the fanciest feline in the Sunshine State, Sir Winston Smushface, joins us with a furry big announcement. That's all coming up live and dangerous from the Gold Coast. Get into it, people, or not.
I got my skates on, laced.